Okay, Ghoul Gang, let's talk about Fiona. And I know when I say that, you immediately think about Fiona Phillips, previously of GMTV fame. But I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the princess variety, better known as the love interest of everyone's favourite ogre, Shrek. I just want to warn you in advance, there are going to be some major spoilers ahead and a full walkthrough of Fiona along with my thoughts from here on out. So if you're not cool with that, I suggest you switch off or come back to the video once you've checked out Fiona for yourself. If you do go and check it out, drop a comment on their video letting them know that you came from Unleash the Ghouls so they know that we're giving them some love over here. Anyway, I came across this fan film called Fiona, written and directed by Andy Chen, where the description just says, based from the characters and lore of Shrek comes a new and twisted tale. Now I've got to admit, I only came across this because my partner actually sent me a screenshot of an article covering the film's release on Unilad. The article directed me to Locust Garden on YouTube, which hosts this film along with a bunch of other cool looking short movies, which I'm actually quite looking forward to binge watching my way through soon. Now before I jump into Fiona, leave it, I do just want to talk about Shrek really quickly, because I absolutely fucking hate Shrek. I didn't at first, of course, but it's one of those films that's just on so often that it's become a bit like water torture for me, where absolutely none of it is enjoyable. Other than maybe the bit where that puppet show says, please keep off the grass, shine your shoes, wipe your face. Top bants and all that, but the rest can fuck all the way off now. When Shrek first came out in I think 2001, it was met with huge acclaim. People lapped it up and it made absolute bank. We're talking nearly $500 million bank. In fact, all the follow-ups and spin-offs have made consistently over $200 million. Which isn't that bad, is it? Especially for what is, and let's be honest, and pretty unfunny, poor CGI-filled shit show with very little redeeming features, other than maybe that little gingerbread guy, because he was pretty cute, and Waffles. Because everyone loves Waffles, don't they? But what followed Shrek was shed loads of films that just copied the same patter of smart-mouthed animals and shit one-liner gags. Much like Unleash the Ghouls channel in fairness, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. Shrek does my head in. It could have been great. I mean, to be fair to it, it did create a cool fairy tale universe around itself, but then it just did very little with it and just subbed the potential goldmine there with Mike Myers doing a Scottish accent and a load of other big at the time celebrities voicing generally unlikable and weak characters. But, irrespective of my utter disdain for the Shrek franchise, a short horror movie based on it is right up my alley. I actually love when someone takes something that's meant to be nice and cute and lovable and shows you what could have been the harsh reality of it, or just put some nightmarish spin on it to paint an entirely different experience. And Andy Chen, the writer and director, does just that. Much like my excitement for the upcoming Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, when I saw this was a thing, I had to give it a watch. So let's talk about it. I mean, that's kind of what you're here for, right? So Fiona starts off with a knight, Prince Callum, in this dimly lit castle hallway. You can immediately tell that he's on edge and he's looking behind him like he's hearing himself being followed. I don't know about you, but I could immediately understand what he was feeling here. We've likely all been there, well, not specifically in this castle, but, you know, walking home in the dark alone and you hear a noise behind you. Your nerves are on edge, you're hyper aware of your surroundings and you spin round to catch whatever or whoever is behind you in the shadows. The prince does the same thing here, but you can sense the real fear in him immediately, and this sets the tone for what's to come. Walking down the hallway further, he comes across a corpse covered in flies and with its intestines hanging out from its stomach, which has clearly just been totally ripped apart. As he stares at the mess on the floor in front of him, we see someone behind him in the darkness. As Callum spins to see what's behind him again, there's no one there. Whatever it was has just vanished in an instant, like a predator just stalking its prey for fun. The atmosphere here being created is pretty solid, especially for a fan-made film with what I would imagine was a shoestring budget. We're being put on the edge. There's something really ominous happening, and we as the audience can sense that this isn't going to end well. And the use of silence here really helps exacerbate that feeling too. It was actually really well played, so kudos to the team on that one. The prince continues his search through the halls, only to arrive in what appears to be some kind of bedroom of sorts, and as he walks in he finds a plate with what looks like a bloody heart or a human organ of some description, along with a skull and some random bones scattered around. As he investigates that for a minute, a womanly voice comes from nowhere and asks him if it's daylight still, and as the camera pans out we see this beautiful princess in her green dress and tiara. We know in an instant this is Fiona, but she's clearly panicked by something. The prince asks her to confirm if she is indeed Fiona, only to be asked again if if the sun has gone down yet. The prince bows and tells Fiona that he's there to rescue her, and so Fiona thanks him and removes his helmet, going in for a kiss before just falling to the floor, crying and exclaiming that it's too late. What follows here is an ASMR fan's nightmare. We hear loads of bones cracking and the sound of flesh almost being contorted and ripped as we watch the princess begin this metamorphosis into, well, yeah, this. The prince obviously runs for his life and ends up stacking it over in the hallway, and after tripping on that rotting corpse that we saw earlier. And all we can hear in the background is Fiona's now demonic voice echoing down the hallway, almost jeering at him for being a prince and coming to rescue it. Weirdly, the prince doesn't get up and continue to run at this point. He just kind of sits on the floor looking down the hallway and into the darkness. Now, I've got to admit, the acting of this bit I struggled with a little. The actor didn't really seem that scared in this moment, just a bit more confused if anything, but it felt like he was more scared earlier of the thought that someone was stalking him, rather than when he knew this hideous monster actually was. But then we see, and hear, Fiona bounding down the hallway towards him, whilst the prince closes his eyes and just kind of accepts his fate. However, she stops. She stops before him just to gorge on the corpse, and we're met with the squelching of meat being consumed. The sight of Fiona's pig-like features being illuminated only partially by the moonlight is, again, really well done here. It's genuinely really well put together, and from an aesthetics point of view, it's fucking beautiful. The prince tries to move backwards, but the noise of his armour catches Fiona's attention, who looks up and we see her face again, just hideous, before she pounces at him and we're hit with the title, Fiona, in that traditional Shrek font that we can all recognise. At this point, Stephen Kramer Glickman plays us out with a dark and twisted cover of Smash Mouth's All-Star. Hey now, you're an all-star, which is perfect for the tone of this short film and really adds to the overall feeling and ambience that they've created here. So shout out to Dakota Dolby as Prince Callum, Soph Pushley as Princess Fiona, and Maddie Estrada as the ogre version of Fiona, because they all did a really good job, especially for something so concise. To portray anything in such a short amount of time has got to be tough, and I think they did really well, even though there was that one bit with the prince that didn't feel quite as well done as the rest of the surrounding movie. And shout out to Andy Chen for creating a twisted version of Fiona here. Overall, I really like this. I'd be genuinely interested into seeing this expanded into something a bit longer and with more of the Shrek universe and potential horrific realities explored. Andy, if you are listening, just leave alone the donkey and dragon relationship, please, because no one needs to see that, really, do they? But if you want to check this out too, head over to Locust Garden's channel and give it a watch. I'd love to hear your thoughts afterwards, and if you've seen it already, drop your thoughts in the comments below so we can discuss it in more depth there. But in the meantime, I've been Stuart of Unleash the Ghouls, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.